Greetings of the day. Today let us see the concluding part of the poem Flecknoe, written by John Dryden, the father of English dramatist. Last class I stopped up to this. Flecknoe advises Shadwell not to plagiarize any content from superior writers like George Etheridge or Ben Jonson, the greatest dramatist. Shadwell cannot compare himself to Ben Jonson also. So whatever Shadwell borrows does not harmonize with what he writes by his own effort. Says Flecknoe, the borrowed matter, that is the plagiarized content, floats above like oil, and his own independent writing sink below like water, says Flecknoe. I shall continue the remaining poetic lines. I shall read it. This is thy province, this thy wondrous way, new humors to invent for each new play. This is that bursted bias of thy mind, by which one way to dullness it is inclined, which makes thy writings lean on one side still, and in all changes that way bends thy will. This is thy province, this thy wondrous way. Province, it is of course the state where he is ruling the area. New humors to invent for each new play. He has to invent new humors. He should not plagiarize any content for each new play, whatever he is composing. This is that boosted bias of thy mind. Last class I have explained, of course, unbiased, bias of the mind. Whatever you like, you just write it, he says. By which one way to dullness it is inclined, which makes thy writings lean on one side still, and in all changes that way bends thy will. So whatever you wish, you write about it. Don't borrow, don't plagiarize any other writer's content. நீ என்ன நினைக்கிறியோ அதை எழுது, அடுத்தவங்களுக்கு இருந்து திருடி எழுதாத. Okay, says Flecknoe. And in all changes that way bends thy will. Okay, your will, your wish, he says. Nor let thy mountain belly make pretense of lightness, thine's a tympani of sense. A ton of man in thy large bulk is writ, but here thou art but a kilderkin of wit. Look at the next poetic lines. See, here Shadwell talks about the epilogue, the humorous. A humor is a bias of the mind. Okay, he says. Then he says, in all changes that way bends thy will, nor let thy mountain belly make pretense. See, he compares his belly, okay, which is very large in size. Mountain belly make pretense, nadikirathu, of likeness, thine's a tympani. See, you know that of likeness, thine's a tympani of sense. Tympani, it is nothing but a tumor, or a katti, a swelling, he says. Tympani is nothing but a swelling. Thine's, yours is a swelling of sense. It is not real sense. You don't have really sense. Okay, it is a swelling of sense, he says. A ton of man is thy large bulk is writ. How he satirizes. See, he compares Shadwell's body like an enormous vessel. A ton in the sense, an enormous vessel, large vessel, ஒரு பெரிய vessel மாதிரி. Okay, okay, a large vessel, a ton, he says. His body is compared to a ton, enormous vessel, but his wisdom of intelligence, but his wisdom or intelligence, that is wit, it is like kilderkin, he says. Kilderkin. Kilderkin is nothing but a small cask, a small cask, a cask, okay? It is a small cask, like a small vessel, a basket, like a cask, or a barrel, mari kuttiya irukkirathu. Kilderkin means a cask. How he says, see, the
voice clear alla ma'am.
The body of Shadewell seems to be enormous vessel, ton, but his wit, but his intelligence is compared to a small cask. How he satirizes, see. The next poem, like mine, thy gentle numbers feebly creep. Sorry, like mine, thy gentle numbers feebly creep. Thy tragic music gives smiles, thy comic sleep. With whatever gall thou settest thyself to write, thy inoffensive satires never bite. Like mine, thy gentle numbers feebly creep. You must also produce as much of works. Like me, Flecknoe says, you have to produce many number of plays. Thy tragic music, sorry, thy tragic muse is the deity, the goddess of poetry, of course. The tragic muse gives smile, thy comic sleep. Look at the reference here. The tragic scenes, whatever whatever Thomas Shadewell has, whatever the tragic scenes make people laugh. இவன் என்னென்ன சோகமா எழுதுறானோ அதெல்லாம் all the people are laughing, but the scenes that are supposed to be funny, put them to sleep. சிரிக்க வைக்கிற மாதிரி எழுதுனா அது தூக்கமா வருது. Okay, it make all the other people to sleep. So the tragic scenes make people laugh. The scenes that are supposed to be funny, put them to sleep. This is the reference. With whatever gall thou settest thyself to write. Here gall is nothing but bitterness. Gall means bitterness. Gall thou settest thyself to write, thy inoffensive satires never bite. What Flecknoe advises Shadewell means, Shadewell is incapable of writing biting satires. He is incapable of writing biting satires. கடைந்துரைக்கிற இந்த satire கூட அவனால எழுத தெரியலையா. There is poison in his heart. There is poison in his heart, but it evaporates as soon as it reaches his pen. It reaches his foolish Irish pen. He says, see, in thy felonious heart in thy felonious heart thou venom lies. There is poison in his heart. The next line he says, it does but touch thy Irish pen and dies, but it evaporates soon when it reaches the pen. When it reaches the pen, his poison dies. He could not write that satire. Whatever he has, that poison in his mind. Venom, he says. Thy genius calls thee not to purchase pen, in keep iambics, but mild anagram. Leave writing place and choose for thy command some peaceful province in Acrostic land. listen here. Thy genius calls thee not to purchase fame. What Flecknoe says here, Flecknoe suggests that Shadwell can write only anagrams, but he could not keep on writing iambics. Iambic pentameter, as you all heard, the unstressed, unstressed writing poetry with unstressed and stressed accent. That is what iambic. So he could not produce iambics. He could not concentrate keen, okay, iambics, but mild anagram. Look at this anagram. What is anagram? I shall type here. Just one example I shall type here. Army. A-R-M-Y. Army. See, from this word army, you can coin another word. Can anyone answer? From this army, you can coin another word. What is that word? One of you answer? No. Full word. All the 4 letters you must use. Anagram is formation of one word out of another by transporting its letters. But letter மாத்தி போட்டு ஒரு word coin பண்ணணும். Can you coin from this word army?
Mary, ma'am.
Very good. Mary. I shall type here M-A-R-Y. Mary. Army, Mary. So this is an anagram. What Flecknoe says, you cannot write iambics, but you can write this anagrams. This is very simple. Even child can write anagrams. Just transporting the letters from one word and coining and making another word from that. It is very simple. It is very easy. So Thomas, well, you please practice anagrams in your writings, in your poetry, mild anagram. Leave writing place. See why he also talks about this anagram. There is a writer called George Herbert. Of course, you all know the metaphysical poet. He is familiar in composing poems by using anagrams, Mary and army. These are all his poems. Okay. Then leave writing place and choose for thy command. So whatever you just think in your mind, you just command in your writing. Some peaceful province in Acrostic land. Then again, there is a reference. What is acrostic? Just I shall write it. Acronym, acrostic. You have heard this. Acrostic. I shall type here. One of you find it, please. What is acrostic? Look at these lines. Remember me, all for your kindness. Time is galled. Have a nice day. In the name of God, do everything good. Just for example, I have typed this sentence. Can anyone identify what is acrostic? See, I shall give you a clue. In acrostic poem, the initial letters of lines form an appropriate word. Can anyone find? First letter, initial letter இருக்குல்லப்பா, அதை வச்சு ஒரு word form பண்ணலாம் அந்த poemல. Remember me, all for your kindness, time is gold, have a nice day, in the name of God, do everything good. Okay. Just I shall write in one by one sentence, then only you can identify.
Ma'am, Raji.
Ah, yes, correct. Who is that answered? Very good. So from this...
Alagumina, ma'am.
What, ma?
Alagumina, ma'am.
Very good. You can also write poems, and with your initials, okay, you can make this acronym, acrostic we call. So acrostic is nothing but a poem in which the initial letters of lines form an appropriate word. It may be a name or any other word. Just here for a fun, I have written my name. Okay. Okay, I shall erase this. So Flecknoe says Thomas Shadwell has the ability to use childish anagrams and acrostics, which do not require much effort on the poet's part. Okay, this is what he argues in these lines. Then again, look at the remaining poetic lines. There thou mayest wings display, and altars rise, and torture one poor word 10,000 ways. Or if thou wouldst thy different talents suit, set thy own songs and sing them to thy lute. See, so you just write whatever the words you think, whatever the talents you have, whatever the talents suit you, you produce your own songs by singing to your own lute, like by using acrostic or childish anagrams, but do not plagiarize any content from Ben Jonson or George Ethiraj. Okay, he says the next. He said, but his last words were scarcely heard, for Bruce and Longville had a trap prepared. Bruce and Longville, they are all the characters in Shadwell's play, The Virtuosa. Bruce, please take notes. Bruce and Longville are the characters in Shadwell's play, The Virtuosa. And these characters, Bruce and Longville, they arrange for Sir Formal Trifle to fall through a trapdoor while he is delivering a speech. See, in that play, these two characters, Bruce and Longville, they used to prepare a trap. Okay, they used to prepare a trap door. Trap, mouse trap, you have heard. Eli pidikirum poriki solvangala, that's what. Okay, the box, enappa, tell me. Eli pori, yes, Eli pori, mouse trap we say. Like that, there is a trap door. They wanted to trap, self-formal trifle, okay, in that place, virtuosa. But what here John Dryden says, while Flecknoe was holding forth in this manner, a tractor prepared by Bruce and Longville opened, okay, and suddenly what happened? Flecknoe fell down. Flecknoe fell down. When he fell, his coarse woolen robe was, that's what the remaining lines I shall read and tell you. For Bruce and Longville had a trap prepared, and down they sent thee, yet declining board, sinking he left his drugget robe behind, borne upwards by a subterranean wind. The mantle fell to the young prophet's part with double portion of his father's art. This is the concluding part. This is the concluding poetic line. It's a very good satire, of course. What happens here means, when Flecknoe was holding forth in this manner, okay, see what he says first, you just outlet your talent, okay, you may sing your own songs to the accompaniment of your lute, he says. And next, while Flecknoe was holding forth in this manner, a trapdoor was prepared by the characters Bruce and Longville. Just imagination. The trapdoor opened, and immediately Flecknoe fell down. Flecknoe on the trapdoorla உள்ள விழுந்துறான். Okay. When he fell, his coarse woolen robe, and the woolen robe he wears, no, that woolen robe was carried upwards by a wind. காத்தடிச்சு அப்படியே subterranean wind. Okay, subterranean. Now, the wind from the earth, the wind which forms from the under earth. Mediterranean, we say, no, Mediterranean. It also comes from the Tamil word medi, middle, mathiya, terranean, land, tarai, mathiya, tarai, Mediterranean, like that. Subterranean, it means under the earth. So the wind which is formed under the earth, what it does means, it carries the robe worn by Flecknoe. அவன் போட்டிருக்கிற dress அப்படியே காத்துக்கு பறந்து கூட்டு போய், okay, and the coarse woolen robe was carried upwards by a wind that arose from below the earth, the subterranean wind. Because of that subterranean wind, unfortunately, the robe fell on his shoulders of Shadwell. I could give a good example in Rajinikanth movie. What is that movie? Muthu. You have watched it, of course. Rajinikanth's son will run fast to look at his father's face, whom he is. All the people will be gathered there. But at last, what happens? He could not see his father's face, but the shawl worn by the worn-out shawl, and the kilinja aada, okay, the worn-out shawl worn by Rajinikanth's father, he would receive that robe. It seems to be a blessing. அது ஒரு blessing. அவன்கிட்ட அந்த போர்வை வந்து அவன் மேல விழுகு. Okay, like that. Here is also a biblical allusion. What is that biblical allusion means? Please listen, all of you. There is a biblical incident, but it is a very good incident. Okay, when prophet Elijah, okay, when prophet Elijah was taken upward into heaven by a whirlwind, ஒரு சூறாவளி காற்றுல எலையா அப்படின்னு ஒரு ப்ராஃபட், தீர்க்கதரிசிய அப்படி சொர்க்கத்துக்கு கூட்டு போய்கிட்டு இருப்பார் கடவுள் பைபிள்ல. ஓகே, அப்ப he asked another person, Elisha, what he wanted. See, this is what he wanted before I was carried to the heaven by the angels. Okay, what's your wish? And Elisha replied, I pray thee, let a double portion of the Spirit fall upon me. He says, oh my God, let a double portion of thy spirit, இரு மடங்கு உங்களுடைய ஆன்மா அந்த பவர் என் மீது விழட்டும். Okay, portion of thy spirit be upon me. Elisha prays to God, and immediately because of that wind, what happens? Elias mantle, that robe, robe dress falls down. Okay, falls down. It falls. That's what it falls on Elisha. So what happens? To his immense, Elisha ketamari, okay, to his immense joy, the spirit of Elijah descended on him. மறுபடியும் அவனுக்கு 2 மடங்கா ரெட்டிப்பான நன்மையா அவன் ஸ்பிரிட் இவனுக்குள்ள உள்ள போகுது. பயங்கரமா பவர்ஃபுல். He became powerful. This is the great incident in Bible, but Dryden parodies this also. He used this biblical allusion in this context. What he says, the ducat robe behind, sinking, borne upwards by a subterranean wind, the mantle fell to the young prophet's part. Here the young prophet's part. Here, who is the young prophet? Of course, now Flecknoe. Flecknoe அப்படியே இப்படி இருக்கிறான். Okay, he is carrying that scepter. Instead of scepter, he is carrying that book. Okay, the same book written by his father, the loves labors. Okay, and he is also carrying a mug. At the time, what happened? His father's robe, mantle, அப்படியே காத்துக்கு பறந்து வந்து, it just flew from the subterranean wind, and it falls on his part. Okay, so what happens here? In contrast to this, Flecknoe's dullness seizes hold of his hair, shade well. Flecknoe உடைய dullness அப்படியே ரெட்டிப்பான மடங்கா ஷேட்வெல் மேல அப்படியே விழுகுது. Okay, so he became dull twice. He became dull. Declining bard means Flecknoe here he is making declamation contest and all you have heard. Declamation, elocution contest. It is a rhetorical speech, art of speech, பேச்சுக்கலை. அதான் declining bard. Bard means poet. Okay, he says Flecknoe here he is making a rhetorical speech, and father's art here it refers to Flecknoe's stupidity, and rugged refers to the coarse woolen robe worn by his father. So with double portion of his father's art at last, similarly Flecknoe falls down before his complete speech. Flecknoe தன்னுடைய பேச்சு முடிக்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே அந்த the tractor which was created by the 2 characters Bruce and Longville, he fell into that, and his robe was fallen, okay, on the body of Flecknoe. This is the last incident in which Dryden parodies. Thank you, students.